Hello, galactic travelers, cosmic crew. What's happening? I'm gonna make sure you guys can hear me. I'm just realizing I didn't even check my headset before it came on. And can you see the board? Gosh, I wasn't ready at all. I'm working trying to put all this together so quickly. Hey, sister, what's up? I need to move my lamp. I like didn't do a whole bunch of things. I just jumped on like a crazy person. Can y'all hear me? I apologize. Okay, there's some more light. Can y'all hear me? Hi guys. Hi guys. Can you hear me? Okay. I need to make sure that my headset's on. Yes. Okay, cool. Thank you. Come on in, come on in. My energy is just I'm shaking all over right now. um, I wanted to get on real quick. This video is going to be a hodge. Thank you. This is going to be a hodgepodge of just a bunch of different things that are all popping up, right? And not just the good and not just the crazy stuff, but I mean the good amazing stuff that's happening as well. And I wanted, part of what I'm understanding too about what I'm teaching is a lot of understanding this multidimensionality as we enter into these other dimensions. And so that's why I've started releasing the and I don't want to call them meditations because it really the video I released last night for the new moon, those are I call them meditations, but it isn't what they are. They really are these multi-dimensional missions that we go on when we start connecting back through the different seeds of our awareness, because whenever we're aware, then we can be utilized in those functions. And especially those of us that are on this channel, right? I mean, guys, we're like galactic star seeds, like intuition goddess. When she got her star seedology reading and did her family, it was like everyone around her was such. There she is. Hey, Jessica. So she is just everyone around her in her physical was also big time star seeds. And so when she just texted yesterday and said, "Hey, I've been looking at other people's charts now, and I realize, you know, how many locations and how mega star seed driven my whole group is." It and I'm saying that because it took her seeing ones that weren't to show it to her. Okay? So this is why my soul has me going here right now, because what we're going to talk about is the new moon of Sagittarius, right? But Venus is in retrograde, and let me tell you, my mind is getting blown by the dang second. And all of these things that are coming up in my awareness that you guys bring in keys, different YouTube videos, whatever you are showing your focus on is what your higher self is going to utilize, and it's putting it there so that it's in your awareness, because at some point you're going to get brought back to it. And if you think about it, that's how everything's done, right? So, when we talk about the new moon and the full moon, I mean, this really is an easy way to link in to the energies and start really understanding the shifts. And what Venus retrograde, I feel, is and Mercury stationed right now, so it's like Mercury just came out of not Venus retrograde. I know Venus is no longer in retrograde, but we're still in that Venus retrograde cycle because she's going back up to Scorpio at 16 degrees where she went retrograde. So we're still in that cycle. But since we're going through Scorpio, what I mean by that, and when I say we're picking up the bags, is that we, in our awareness, is coming up of all of the artificial, energetic constructs that were set up in opposition to the organic one. What we're finding is that everything that was organic with the Bosnia pyramids, with the Egyptian pyramids, with how all the planets are connected, which now we know that's really just, our DNA and our blood shifting and going back to original template and the completing of the aeon, and in physical form. But it's how that everything has an organic universal function, and but everything was set up with those universal elements in line being utilized, but there was an artificial something that was set up to replicate that energy, and therefore it gave us a reverse look at it. So for me, see, and this is where, and what I mean by that is like, so, ever since the 11 gate, we've been really going, and throughout we've been doing this, okay? But specifically in regards to these artificial structures and the energetics, and all the same time, before that could all kind of be unraveled, the final connections had to be made within the energetic, which is what happened in that 11. So, what this time is showing us on all levels is just what we need to be made aware of. And it's crazy stuff because it's things that are coming up in your experience that are on a multi or have significant value in another dimension. It might seem to be, you know, a, a little not that big of a deal in your 3D, but the choice that you make to have that experience, right, is what is kind of being tested right now, because on another dimension, you don't know what the significance of that is. Does that make sense? So this is why, as you connect with more and more aspects of yourself, then and you flow with it, then this is how this multidimensionality works. But what I want to explain, leading up to that is, there might be 3 or 4 days that these syncs are coming up, and each of us have different frequencies. Each of us are doing something different. So, for me, they're really planetary and galactic. I mean, but heck, I'm basically Venus, so, but I don't have a lot of these uh things that I did, like in the dimension yesterday, that I do so much with planetary stuff and overall energy sources, right? Is what my part is, and understanding the physics and the energy, and right, and then helping us make those connections now, so that we can start seeing these things in our physical and understanding the energy more. Because however they set it up artificially, now I look at it as thank you for the blueprint, because now all I got to do is take a look at that and think, okay, what is it manipulating? And then we're calling in the reverse, and they're crashing fast. And I'm going to get to this, but I mean that the one I did, yes, that I ended up going into yesterday, that was like a 4 or 5 day process, that different, Amanda brings me different things to look up big time, she and different people and different things take me on these little bitty rabbit holes, and none of it makes sense. And then I get off into one of these multidimensional things, and what my higher self is doing and my consciousness is showing me different pictures of the research that I had done. So then it pulls my mind in that direction. And then I'm like, whoa, right? Because I got some information on that. So it's not just all etheric, I'm playing a role in all of it as well. And that's where a lot of us are stepping into. So, this is the cool shit. Now, some of you are having a lot more of those interactions in your physical life, and in the astrals you're still doing a lot of physical um timeline clearing, but it's basically like you're birthing yourself. It's like we're stepping back in, we're lacing it, we're lacing up these dimensions. And so it's like truly your physical self in this dimension is going back to rectify original seed contract stuff. And when we started, it wasn't like, go build go build a huge corporation and save the world. It was like, um sacrifice yourself to this race through giving your body and yourself to them, and self-sacrifice, and coming in, right? Because these stories are ancient templated stories that we came into this dimension with, some of us. And this is where, in starseedology, which is basically starseed psychology, in starseedology, what you realize, and you start looking at charts, is where people's chiron is kind of, that's their soul wound. And a lot of those wound, you can tell where that is and see at what point of evolution did their seed come in. And so if you have like your chiron in Taurus, for example, if you want to look at it from, that's the earthly plane, and Aries, is the caveman first house, like those of us who have Chiron and Aries, it's like our Chiron wound happened when our etheric intelligence and intelligent soul came to this planet, and we were like, nothing was here. And then when humans, we were getting raped and all of this, female, male, whatever, ooh, ah, 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 right? And then Taurus is then more of what we would consider the human, timeline. So you guys are more linked to a lot of the timeline clearing that is happening, going into, a lot of the Indian stuff is coming up big time. Viking, Nordic, right? Even the wolf and all those things are popping up in that multidimensional journey, that we went on yesterday, that I know, that we were clearing those. That's why all the that's why we had the snake and the elephant and I mean, crap, we were clearing all these stepping back into the story, because we showed up with the energetic perspective, and we kind of understood what it represented. So no matter if you've got your eyes closed, you're in a dream, you're asleep, whatever, and you make that connection, then give it love and dissolve it, no matter what it is. And that just came on strong, and we got 22 people. So 22, man. Okay. So did that I haven't even started on this, and I have an hour, so I've got 45 minutes. My Chiron is in Aries. Yeah, we're and it's not that the more ancient is bad versus good. It's just we have different sets of information. And it's like it's it's that's all it is. And that's also, when you start understanding the different energies that you're receiving, then, like yesterday, I know that that was all linked to Neptune because we went around Mars and then went down in Neptune. And then when I went back and listened to the one that I did on November 14th, because I was guided to go back and listen to that one and I haven't released it yet. I haven't Something kept me from doing it. And this is the one where I knew we went into Uluru. Because see, we're also at a soul level going back to our origination point. And I know all you guys are getting syncs of like the world or the snake eating the tail or just that whole completion, or the star card, with the world around it. And so that's because we're legit, like, we just glitched the system and it's completed. It's like that whole story has been locked up, sealed, and delivered. That whole movie has been set. Now we're taking the end of the movie and we're having to weave it back into the beginning of the movie like we were making a YouTube video, because we're gonna we're gonna we're gonna add some. We have to weave it all together in a story. We can't just like let it end. So that's a beautiful example, and thank you, because that's exactly what we're doing. But we have the power to call in the resolution for that final connection. So that's why we're seeing, so much symbolism with that completion. There's so much more. I mean, my God, that goes off so deep. But the big thing too on that is that since I'm going there right now, is realize, okay, and this is a big one. And I wrote this note. Amanda and I came to this. Um, she said this when she said, all they can do, okay, when we sealed up that video and we said, okay, this is it, which is what happened. I mean, there was a pulse sent across the globe, right? I don't think anybody can deny that that's what happened. Okay. Well, that story cannot, there are no new timelines that the lower densities can now at all create. We've been seeing this, but now it's, really since 11/11 is when it's gotten more and more crazy. Well, when we think about like our overall timeline, it's easy for us to see it, but this also is within our lives. So the only thing they can do is repeat. They can't do anything new, which is, why even, on the new moon, George Bush dies and has a 2-day funeral procession. And not only that, does the train. And if you go back in history, the all I saw was bitch. I was like, that's a birch or bitch. It's a typical problem. Christ with an I, bitch with an R. That was funny, Ninaru. What was I talking about though? Oh my gosh, that got me off totally. Oh, there had only been 10 presidents, that had before Bush that had done a funeral procession. And if you go, I'm just talking about the energies now, right? Because they can't create anything new. And of course they're going to do this on a new moon, and the gematria is off the chart. It has a lot to do with what president number he is, and everything else. Everything is coded, right? This is Venus retrograde. right here, showing us it's like Venus was thrown out of the cycle. She had to work her way back up through the family, back to the original source. Well, what was between her and the original source? How it was all set up. So Venus knows exactly how it was all set up because we're undoing it. We've been doing it, but now we're like now more even actively doing it from the grand scale. So, when people say they don't understand energy and none of it has anything to do with anything, these looking at this historic transits and how the energy was being used artificially is what helps them see. So I don't want to get off on, they're doing this to us or any of that, but it's important to just take note that this is what's going on because not only is it happening, in our personal, right? But on a timeline perspective, these events are very linked to the astrology and they're very linked to historical events and the matching transits that are happening right now. Because a lot of the transits were here whenever World War II happened. That was Uranus and Taurus. That was the Antares search. That was basically an awakening from a soul level, but it had been hijacked again by that bomb. I have all the stuff on that. That really triggered a bunch because I understand how all the galaxies or everything are connected, and so when that frequency went off on the planet, it bumped us back, and that was in June of 1945. But what's really cool is that I just did a starseed ology reading for a 73-year-old woman named Hattie, who can you imagine? She was born in 1945. And what's amazing is that she was born in September of 1945. And I think it's like we were sending star seeds in at that time too. They opened up a huge portal because which is the only way to describe how she got the energies that she was able to get in the density at that time. Right? It's crazy. But anyway, we've got to link with that, right? We That's going on with those big Nazi timelines, because again that even can link back to a dimensional timeline of maybe an Atlantis timeline, right? Because we were all on cycles. They're just it's just events that have happened, and it's all to spin us out. But this is when we weren't conscious that everything was going on. um Isn't that crazy? So, from the new moon perspective, right? Then we can see why this was planned. This funeral and the procession and all of that. You see how it just perfectly aligns with the new moon. Not only the new moon, but the new moon right after we had this huge shift and we just connected the human genome, right? Which isn't the first time in the dimensionals that in the different dimensions that's happened. I mean, it's happened before, but not at a huge consciousness level. That's why some of us are ascended and some not, right? So, but it's we had Mars is conjunct Neptune right now. Well, Mars, we just gave Mars a rewrite. Neptune is the collective unconscious. I mean, which is what we were in yesterday, which was shown to me just like these lights and all these different reflective inner images, which is the core of the matrix. And we talk about the experiences and those energies coming out, right? And so, if you will, now Neptune is we're going back to Neptune, because when we think of the ascending of the sun and we think about the planets are ascending too, so it's kind of like Earth came from the moon and Earth's going to Venus. Venus is going to Venus's oversoul is Neptune, which is, the outer all of it. So again, the snake eating its tail. So what was interesting is on 11/14 of 2018, and this was, right after the 11/11/11, and then on 11/12 is with Jessica, we connected to water, and then on 11/13, I did that, uh, the 13th was big because that's when all these codes, Susie and everyone started sending me information. This was linked to the Stargate. That's when all that knowledge connected with me and my physical history. And I'm not saying I'm the only one that's doing this, but we're all working together. I'm telling you guys, I'm just connecting these. So the 14th is when I we got the Uluru. The Uluru information came in on the 13th, but then we connected on the 14th, and that's the first time that I had like gone into a mountain. And what happened yesterday was so much more intense than any other ones that I'd had. But on the 14th, I know we connected to Uluru, which I'm going to release that one really probably over the weekend. And I was guided to listen to it today. And what I'm freaking out about is that it tied exactly to the one that happened last night. A lot of the same imagery that when we went into Uluru for the first time and we got Uluru codes that came in, then that was connecting on that happened on the 14th. Well, I went back and looked at the astrology on the 14th, and that's the day that we had Mars at 11 degrees, Uranus at 11 degrees. The nodes were both at 11 degrees, and Neptune was at 13 degrees and 44 minutes. And these 13, 14, 15 degree now are going to 15 degrees and 0 degrees for all new moons are going to be at a 15 degree until April. All full moons are going to be at 0 degrees until April. Holy crap. So, do you see, like, we had all these 22 gateways, we got all that connected, the human genome's connected, we're connected to the planets, we've completed everything. Now it's like we're going to have these 15-degree, angles that we're clicking into, and it's like we're pulling out, pulling out, pulling out. But those of us on this channel, a lot of us are being called to do the work that I just shared with you guys last night, but y'all aren't understanding that's what it is. And so you're fearful of it in some way. And if you have this problem, let me know, because that's what all of this is showing. I want to show you guys, don't be worried about it. Your soul's going to guide you. Your soul's been guiding you the whole freaking time. When you get fully aware, you're going to be like, holy crap. And so then you just kind of show up to the party, right? And know everything's okay. So anyway, but the new moons are going to be at 15 degrees. The full moons are all going to be at 0 degrees until April of 2019. The new moon energy is still right now. How do we use it? Well, let's take a look. How is it being used against us? All types of fear, all types of emotion and sadness, right? Because of course they want a huge imprint of outpouring of emotion, and it's hard. I mean, I get caught into it too, and I'm fully aware. But then when I look at, the TV and the hearse and everything, then it's like it pulls on my heartstrings, and it's like, oh, they lost their father, they lost their da 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 da, right? It's like it's so tricky. So, of course, that's what because whatever you put out is what you manifest. So for all the including my mother was downstairs crying yesterday. because so much of, being an American and being, in it is all tied up in that energy, and they don't know what's going on, you know? And but that is going to imprint for those people in 6 months because we weren't aware. Well, I know 6 months sounds a really long time for a human, but in time the way it is now, it is a freaking blink, especially whenever you do it every month, and it's kinda like that residual income. We're all looking for residual income, right? Well, let me tell you, the new moon is your residual income, and you don't even have to wait, like, you start your job on this new moon right now. You're starting your job. If you haven't started already, you're starting a new job today. Welcome to the new moon of the cocoa. And your job is to act and be and speak and focus on the future, whatever you want. Don't let your mind trick you into thinking that nothing's going to stop it. Do it for the earth, do it for the consciousness, do it for yourself, do it for the world. How do you want to see it? We need education systems out here pronto. Who's working on that? I mean, man, the ideas are coming bam, bam, bam. Write them down. If you started a job, you'd have to wait what? Sometimes you got to wait a month to get paid because now we've got ACH and all that stuff, right? So, new moon, bam. Now, it might not be Sagittarius new moon that you're going to be collecting because you just did that work. It's going to take about 6 months to get that exact one, but the very next month, you're getting whatever you put in the new moon before the 6 months before that. It's residual every month, every month, every month there's a new moon. It's just when did you start being conscious that you were creating it? And trust me, if you concentrate all your energy on that, and then you get to the full moon part and you're like, how do I want to change this? Because it's quantum, you can change it at any second. The hard part is making up your mind what exactly is that we want to do. So you can see how it's just crazy. And the astrology goes even more and more nuts. We've got Mercury it stationed yesterday. So, this is why, our thought process is slowed down a little bit. Well, praise creator, because our thought process is what's messing with us right now. Because our left brain, it's like I describe it in the coaching as like whenever you push on something, and then you let go, and your arms like, "Oh," but you're not even flexing your muscle anymore, or your legs are stripped from doing crunches or whatever. Well, that's what your brain's doing because your brain on the left side has been like just so, can I attach to this? Can I attach to this? Let me put it back to your database? Let me go attach, query this and put it in your database, query this and put it in your database. And the whole time we're having to catch ourselves and going, there's no database, no database, no database, do not store, do not store. And so your brain is going like it can't attach to something, right? And so that's Mercury because Mercury's trying to get you to attach to something. Well, you trick it. You trick it by attaching, create something that you want. Research that's coming in so that your brain can then attach to those things and guide you in your physical, can guide you in your physical life as you're going about just taking the actions that you intuitively resonate to. You know, right now it's like we're all got this little mind fuckery going on, and we know that we need to just sit still, but we're like, oh, we're impatient. We're like, oh, am I supposed to be doing something? Am I supposed to be doing something? And am I da 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 da? And no, it's gonna come when it's supposed to come. And I know it is, and I need to leave it at that. And that has, but then when do you take the action? When do you don't take the action? That's what's been heavy with me, in the past few days. And all of that with the Mars and Neptune, I mean, cuz that's what's happening at an overall level with the divine masculine, the divine feminine, the blend of the energies. I mean, everything that we have been setting up since September. Um and then I have a note here too, September 2015, and I can't remember the exact transit of what that was. I think it might have had something to do with Saturn to it. It was, taking us back to take a look back at September 2015. And so anyway, so all of these volcanoes and earthquakes and I mean, last night because I knew something was gonna happen with the planet, with Earth, after we did those connections yesterday, or it was just showing me that that's what's happening, whatever. But I saw, if you listen to it, I saw the lava coming out, and I even said Cape Horn. And today at Papua New Guinea is where they had these big earthquakes, and they're waiting for the volcanoes to erupt. So, that's what's happening. Those are volcanoes that are ancient. We don't even know where they all are. I mean, have you even looked at the earth? It's a bunch of dragons and snakes and bears, and there's hearts and veins, and we're all connected to the earth. We are the earth. And energetically, I mean, straight up, so many of us in this tribe are freaking the earth. And that's why when we go into other planetary systems, I'm going through veins and into hearts, and it's all underground and underwater. And if you go look at Cape Horn, go to Google Earth and look at Cape Horn and put that in, and it's going to go right into, you can clearly see it's like a it looks like a dragon snake head. Even on the top of its nostrils is a row of volcanoes, ancient volcanoes. And then the earth, it's where the water overlaps those two plates. I forgot what Dutch sense calls them, but I mean, then it wraps around the entire earth. And that is what's bringing me here, because a lot of other information that's been coming in has been about the pole shift, and it's linked to the 1945 timeline. Um, Amanda just she texted, I guess it was yesterday or the day before, and she's like, Eltonin. What do you know about Eltonin? And I'm like, what is Eltonin? I'd seen it before, but I didn't know it, properly. And I go look it up, and it is the gamma alpha draconic star. So it's the lowest frequency of the alpha draconic energy. And it's at, I forget if it's 28 degrees or 29 degrees of Sagittarius, right before you go into what? Capricorn, right when you come out of what? The galactic center. Well, in 1945, when they did that atomic bomb Trinity test, and then all those things triggered off those time, because that timeline was completely hijacked at that point. Eltonin is where Jupiter was. Actually, Eltonin's at 27 degrees. Exactly. Now I'm remembering. Eltonin's at 27 degrees of Sagittarius. In 1945, on that day, there was a bunch of crazy aspects, a bunch of 0 degree stuff, but also Eltonin was where Jupiter was. Now, if if Eltonin is at uh, 27 degrees of Sagittarius, then that means that it's hitting Gemini, right? Because everything's also polarized, just like Antares is at 9 degrees of Sagittarius, Aldebaran is at 9 degrees of Gemini, which opens up that portal. Well, at opposite of Eltonin is what? Betelgeuse, Betelgeuse, the first Orion star. So that's the first generation Orion star, which is the one that's about to go supernova, of course, and it will before this whole thing is over, because that is linked to most of the DNA on the planet, and that's how it's energized and it's so big. And so that opened up this portal. So that got my attention. Um, that that lined up. Well, when I go look forward at when that's going to happen again, because Jupiter is in Sagittarius right now, and when you start looking at the North Pole per the astrology, it's very interesting, right? Because Polaris is the North Pole. Well, Polaris is actually in Gemini. Polus is where my Jupiter is, and it's that's what's linked. That's what akashically links me, I believe now, but I've just come with some of these knowings that's what akashically links me to a lot of this galactic stuff is Polus, because Polus is at 1 degree of Capricorn, and that's basically like the beginning of everything here. From the in and the out, right? It's kind of like the first formed, um, if you want to call it civilization. I mean, it wasn't, in human form, but, in the beginning of there, right? Well, that's at 1 degrees of Capricorn. So it's November 19th, 2019 is when Jupiter will start becoming conjunct with that port. Well, what was interesting is before I got off looking at all of this, when Amanda just said, because this is how it comes in. I'm giving you, here's another example. She just said Eltonin, and I was like, how do you spell it? And I look it up, and I always pull up more crazy stuff. And a lot of us have this ability if we put the intent on it. Put your intent to go into the internet, into other timelines if you're not seeing the information that you want. I mean, legit. And then it just kind of starts opening up that way. You'll see what I mean when you do it. Um, and you'll laugh because and Leslie is the one who taught me this a while back. This is actually how I ended up finding my birth father, not understanding that that's really what I was doing. But I when I put in Elton in, the star doesn't even pop up. It's this antenna that's on the ocean floor called Eltonin. By the way, there's a bunch of huge corporations called Eltonin too that are named after this, gamma low frequency draconic star right on the other side of Polus. Okay. And it is right outside of Cape Horn on the ocean floor. And it's a fake antenna, and it's linked back to a ship called the Eltonin that was a submarine that turned into a research ship. They have this antenna down there. So energetically, do you see what's happening? That star, is going into that gamma rays is going into the ocean floor, right? And that's what's pulsing off on the planet, right? So we all know, that in 2020 is when a lot of the bigger earth changes are going to come. And not to say that, this alignment is going to bring anything bad because we're aware of it. But I'm telling you guys this because number one, y'all have this Akash too, and y'all are able to find these things, right? And make these connections. And the more I talk about it, then you can see it because we're just being aware of it, just like the Bosnia pyramids I was made aware of this week. And I would go look that up if you're, because we can call, not just give out all of our energy, we can send our energy to the Bosnia, the Sun Pyramid, and we can call that energy to triangulate with the Dragon Pyramid and the Moon Pyramid, which is basically our huge photon belt that's going up into the atmosphere that increases with speed the further it gets away. We just have to be conscious to call it in that way. So whenever we understand that that's what it is, then we can consciously call in our energy to do it and create the spell, if you will, with intent, with pure heart, with love, right? So on the flip side, we're being made aware of how we were kept here for so long. But even in that knowing, it shows us how powerful that is. So I just wanted to kind of talk about that, and this go if and I'm sure if I go back and look, at different history, it's going to be more and more and more that we'll find, aligned. But, Jupiter doesn't just arrive in Sagittarius every day. So anyway, 1221. Oh yeah. God, and I had a sync with that today. I just was now you're gonna trip me out because I just went and read something about 1221. Oh, I think it was in my manifestation journal. I had wrote down something 1221. Yeah. Well, in those energetic imprints. And the other thing is, somebody had brought up on one of the comments about that I knew exactly when I woke up. But that she realizes she's been in progression since 1999. I completely concur. Now, when I look back, I can see that in 99 is where a lot of things started shifting and changing. But for me, it was all horrible lessons and programs that I was having to learn. It wasn't spiritual at all. Okay. I didn't I for me it was a full moon of Scorpio, 26 degrees of Scorpio, which is where Mercury is stationed, and this is also where the divine feminines progressed. This is my chart, but we've all seen how that links in. The progressed Mercury in the divine feminine is 32 years, I think, is how long it's in retrograde. And at the end of the precession of the equinoxes, I can't remember what year it is, but up to the year 2032. So it's around 2027, which is going to be a hellacious cray year, 2000 and actually 25. 2025 is going to be a trippy one. But anyway, all those years, the Mercury doesn't move. It's all stuck on 26 degrees Scorpio. And that's exactly where Mercury just came out of and went retrograde. And there's so much going on with this 26 degree Scorpio. And it's kind of like the Apollonian starseed degree. It's like real in the human genome. It's like it's linking in all those original Orion star seeds, I feel, but there's a lot more to it that we haven't uncovered yet. Okay. If y'all have any questions, I hope. What was I saying though about yeah, so for me, I just had like this crazy shock activation, right? And I know others have it, but it's not completely normal. And it actually, when I start looking at at Polaris and Polis and all and Jupiter and all the alignments, it's like I can see exactly what was happening. And the other thing that's been coming online big time is all the ancient race stuff. Carrie Ann gave me a bunch of connections from the Vega line. Susie sent some stuff, and I was sent to HP Blavatsky, and I'll do a video on that real soon. It's the exact thing that I have been explaining with starseedology about Vega and the etheric beings, but it's filling in tons and tons of space. But it's crazy because, see, in my story, this is what's so awesome about, and some of you might be programmed like this, but I was so unaware of all the existence of any of this stuff Christy was in this life, that it's all a surprise to me. It's always all a surprise, but it's always exactly right. But I never know what I'm doing until after it's done, and then I'm shown that that's what's happening, right? It's so funny. Um, well, I don't know where I got off on that. What was I talking about? I can't even remember. It doesn't matter. So there's a little bit on the new moon. Realize this is going to imprint in 6 months, big time, and it's crazy when it happens. Because I've looked at the astrology. Please see my last few when you can. I'm getting the arrival in Christ and Sophia. Please see my last few when you can. My last few posts. The fifth world. It's so hard to see this. Oh, girl, I can't find it. Oh my goodness, my really Carrie Ann. Oh, I love you. Butterfly kisses. I liked your little video that you did. I'm watching you guys. Pleiadian twin flames as above also. I don't know. Okay, guys, this twin flame thing. Listen, I don't have much time. This twin flame thing is it's a program in the dimension. I'm not saying that you're not going to have a new lover. I'm not saying that you're not going to get, what you perceive to be this long lost love that you've lost. The whole point is you understand that you haven't lost shit. But you have to be honest with yourself and look at the relationship and really try to define what that relationship was trying to show you, especially if it's a twin flame that you awoken with. And I'm not saying that y'all won't get back together, because you have to release them, because either A, they're not meant for you. And a lot of us on this channel were, trust me, hooked up with the false twin. We were living a reverse life. I just told, like, concave, it's a reverse life. Every single imprint that we had energetically in this dimension is replicated on the opposite side. So all the hell and torment and everything energetically that you have been through, if you came here with pure intent of heart, that is in a light frequency version on this side. Okay? So the embodiment of the person that you perceive, who is just a fractal of yourself, who is just an experience to experience a relationship, you perceive that that is your twin forever and ever. Well, it was in that dimension, but that twin was polarizing. And if you're not switching together, then you have to let it go, because then A, you're impeding on their free will, because they might not supposed to be waking up. Like, my ex has 6 planet stellium and Aries in the 9th house with 8 empty houses. I swear to gosh, he is the epitome of he's Mars, I'm Venus. Well, Mars isn't going to ascend to Neptune. Ain't no way. I could have cried myself to sleep every day and like been, but ain't no way. It's not even physically possible. Well, now I can explain it like that. But it took me some steps. But you have to completely release it, and release it with love, and focus on yourself, because you're going to go up in resonance, and you're going to attract your exact soul extension, not the other half of you. Wouldn't you rather get a whole than a half? So throw away the freaking hot dog. All right, throw away the half of that hot dog and wait for the steak. Okay, so I've got to go, because I'm having my mom. Okay, But twin flames, I've got to go pick up Rex from school. But twin flames understand that. And then as soon as you understand that, if you really take a look at the relationship, you will realize that you have been making it up all in your head. That they were never going to love you the way that you thought that you needed to be loved. That's why you're not together, because you deserved more. And you just need to realize that that person is never going to reciprocate how you want to be reciprocate, and be okay with it and accept the relationship for the beautiful lessons that you learned and be done with it. If it comes back, then great. But I guarantee you, once you get going, even before you get in a new relationship, you're going to look back and you're going to go, oh my gosh, thank God for unanswered prayers. Thank you, Ninaru. Yes, illusions of Neptune. Mars conjunct Neptune. Squash that crap. I'm telling you, you get a cylinder and you go zoop. You cut all timelines, you cut everyone, you say, I release everything that does not serve. You call in your highest timeline every day. And then you be honest with yourself. Because if you're still hung up on your twin flame and this new energy, don't get stuck in that shit. Mm-mm. It's gonna keep you tied down. All right. Can I get a hoot hoot? All right, guys, I will be back soon. Mwah. If you want a star seedology session or even just a coaching session, okay, email me. We'll work out a price and a time that'll work it out. I got my passport today. I still don't know how I'm getting to Australia, but if you want to talk for a minute, we'll work out a price for that, right? Just email me, coco@cosmicchristy.com. Also, if you want to give a gift to somebody and you want to email me and say, hey, I'd like you to do something for like $50, what can you do for them as a gift? I'm I'll come up with some different things to offer. I'll help you, you help me. It's how it works, right? And we want to spread this knowledge. And I want all of you guys to be able to understand starseedology and like help everyone you talk to. All right, perfect. Yay. Oh, I know. Intuition. Jessica got some codes too. I love you guys. Mwah. Bye.